Good afternoon. It's me, Karen Romano Young, back with another chapter of A Girl, a Raccoon, and the Midnight Moon, with beautiful pictures by Jessixa Bagley, published by Chronicle Kids this year, 2020. Alice the Giraffe is here, some sea stars from Alaska, and some flag people, drawn by Elliot. Let's read. Chapter 32, Rock Stars. October 11th. 3 third-grade kids were checking out books when Oleg burst in to say that the rock had arrived. When the kids saw Pearl and Francine go out the garden door, they followed. Ramon's pickup truck was backed into the driveway and the tailgate was down. The stone rested in the bed of the truck. "We're taking it to the stone carver," Oleg said to the gathering staff, "but I wanted Pearl to see it first." Oleg was right about the stone Pearl saw. It was head-shaped. Oleg stood next to the truck as proudly as if he had invented rocks himself, and Simon and his band friend Joey, who'd gone along to help with the rock, looked almost as pleased with themselves. Ramon, his hand on the tailgate of the truck, had an air of outdoors and adventure. Pearl was jealous. They could have asked her to go, too. Nichols came out the back door. "Where'd it come from?" he asked Oleg. "Out Brickyard way, in the Catskill Mountains." Nichols put his hands in his pockets. "Brickyard? What a swimming hole that is! Can you still walk behind the waterfall on dry days?" The boys said yes. "How do you know?" Pearl asked Nichols. "I used to go out there when I was in college." He leaned both arms on the truck, his eyes seeing something far away. "I remember one day after my history exam. It was at least 95 degrees and I'd sweltered through the whole test. After it was over, we drove out to Brickyard and jumped right in. Nothing like it." "You went to college?" said Simon quietly. "To the university up there," Nichols answered. The little kids pulled on Oleg's pockets. "Was that rock a donkey before it was here?" a girl asked. She had her favorite picture book under her arm, Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. Sylvester and the Magic Pebble by William Stagg, Windmill Books, 1969. "You mean like Sylvester the donkey?" Pearl asked. "Who?" said Francine. And Pearl and the girl began to tell the story about the donkey who finds a magic wishing pebble and accidentally turns himself into a rock so that nobody knows he is there. "The Rock Lady's a better story," sniffed Francine. And Pearl, although she disagreed, bowed. "Thanks for the call," Jonathan Yoik said, striding up. Bruce had called him about the arrival of the stone. "I sure wish I could give the library more coverage." "Actually, you were a bit of a shark at first when it came to this library, more interested when there was something a little, shall we say, dark going on." Bruce was standing tall, being cool, looking down his nose at Yoik's. Yoik's shrugged. "There's more light than dark on Lancaster Avenue since I met you. If only I were a millionaire, I'd start my own paper." "If only I were myself again," quoted Nichols, saying what Sylvester the donkey said when he was the rock. Nichols was walking away, looking sad. Pearl moved to get in front of him and made him look at her. "What were you?" "An architect, an artist who designs buildings." He stared off toward the pines. A sidebar about Jonathan Yoik's. It used to be that Mr. Jonathan Yoik's had 2 jobs. One, he considered art, the unique New Yorker column, which allowed him to write about the kinds of brilliant creative artist weirdo geeks he would have liked to be, if only he didn't have to pay the rent. The other he considered good for paying the rent, reporting on the events of the city, plain and simple, for better or worse. And it was often worse, because the kind of stories his editor liked the best were the kind Yoik's told himself were battles between good and evil, except that it was the evil his editor really liked the best. Crime paid, because it made good copy, and good copy sold papers. Yoik's was jealous of the brilliant creative artist weirdos because they couldn't help being their geek selves, who somehow still managed to pay the rent. He couldn't see how they did it until he saw the stone that Oleg brought home from the Catskills. Then it hit him hard. Not the stone. It was big enough to crush him, but the idea of this object brought in from the wild that so obviously looked as if it should be shaped into a woman's head. Not just any woman, Vincent. He'd seen only photographs of her and her statue, and he didn't know anything about stone carving, though he was going to find out. What was inescapable to him was the destiny of that stone to be what it had to be. The stone carver who'd said yes for free because she just had to be the one to carve Vincent into the stone. Who was she if not unique? So, when Yoix finally found the story and the unique New Yorker he wanted to write about, he finally quit worrying so much about paying the rent and just turned into what he was meant to be, someone who wrote about brilliant, creative artist weirdos, because that was what he was a geek for. By M.A.M. P.S. You may wonder how I know. Let's just say reporters all face the struggle over what makes good copy. So naturally, I had my beady little eyes on Jonathan Yoix. Mom came up behind them and put her hands on Pearl's shoulders. What are you all talking about so seriously? Nichols didn't turn to look at Mom. Safety, he said. Pearl thought, no, we weren't. And that is the end of that very short chapter. See you tomorrow.